It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's time for me to talk about some books that I hated. Hi, welcome to my channel. If you're new, welcome back if you're a subscriber. My name is Ashley and thank you for stopping by Ashley versus the Bookish Agenda. And today's video is going to be my 8 least favorite books of 2017. Let the shadiness commence. Let's get into the nitty gritty. Coming in at number 8 is a book that I listened to on as the audiobook, and that is Before I Fall by Lauren Oliver. This tells the story of Samantha Kingston, who is not a nice girl at all. She bullies people at school. She kind of follows behind whatever her lead mean girl best friend says to do. And one day, coming home from a party, there's a car crash. She dies. She wakes up and she relives the day over and over and over again until she can right the wrongs that she's done in her life. And this book was entirely too long. I don't think it served any purpose. It was supposed to be a redemption arc, but the main character was just as despicable, and I hated her just as much in the beginning that I did in the end. The only thing it had going for it was a romance between her and another character, and she really didn't deserve him. He was a really nice guy, and I feel like this book could have been like 300 pages wrapped up nicely, but it just seemed to go on and on and on and on and on and on forever and forever and forever, and it just was not worth it. After reading this, I was like, I definitely don't want to see the movie. Number 7, I have another book that I listened to as an audiobook, and that was Forgive Me, Leonard Peacock by Matthew Quick. This tells the story of Leonard Peacock, whose today is his 18th birthday, if I'm not mistaken, and he's decided that this will be the day that he kills his ex-best friend. And there's a secret that's hinted at throughout the book, and it's the reason for, Leonard Peacock's behavior. But I just couldn't find myself connected to Leonard Peacock at all. I felt nothing for him. The only reason I think why the audiobook got such high marks for me is because Noah Galvin reads the audiobook, and at the time I was obsessed with him on his TV show, and I feel like he brought a little extra flair and flavor to the audiobook, but I just didn't feel anything for Leonard Peacock. I do have a little mini review that has no spoilers on my Instagram if you would like to hear some of my thoughts on why I just couldn't connect with him as a character. 6, we have, actually, I'll get it. The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. This tells the story of a girl nicknamed Belly who every summer her and her brother and her mother go to this beach house with her mother's best friend and her 2 sons. And I think the previous year she was in love with the older brother, but he paid her no mind. And now this year the younger brother's in love with her, and it's just like a quick contemporary summer romance, and it had no substance, and it was somewhat boring. And the only time I had any emotion during this book was at the end with what happened to the mother's best friend. And I could really do without having read this book or having it in my memory. And now I really don't want to read the other 2, but I own them, so I'll probably wait till next summer to read them. Have you ever just had a book and had this feeling come over you that this book is going to be amazing, and then you can't read it right then, and time, a couple of months or a year go by and you pick it up and it's just a big disappointment? This is what happened to me with my number 5 pick, and that is Not That Kind of Girl. A Young Woman Tells You What She Learned by Lena Dunham. I listened to the audiobook of this, and I waited too long to read it. I waited about 2 years before picking this book up, and I just found myself disliking Lena Dunham more and more and more as I listened to it. I felt like she was trying to be deep, and it came off as like pretentious and ignorant at times, and she contradicted herself. And I just, I can't say anything good about this book. Nothing about this book was amazing. Um, I think the world hyped it up too much with the controversy that surrounded it when it first came out, because I read it and I expected to be horrified, and I felt nothing. And I really wish I wouldn't have read it, because I highly liked Lena Dunham up until this point, and now I just have a bad taste in my mouth whenever I see her in something, or see her picture somewhere. And don't recommend anybody. Don't listen to it. Don't read it. Don't pick it up. It's not worth it. Next is Fun Home by Alison Bechdel. This tells the story of Alison's very strange relationship with her father, coming to terms with her sexuality, and I so wanted to love this book, but I feel like it got caught up so much in like classical literature and classical art, because that's the only thing that Alison and her father really got along when discussing or talking about. And because I'm not really heavy into classic literature or artwork and stuff of that nature, a lot of the references and things she made went over my head. And this is a short book, 231 pages, and sometimes the pages are like, let me see if I can get you something PG. Okay. Most of the time, the pages are like full picture. So it shouldn't have taken me a long time to read this book, but it did. I had to push through so that I could count it for Booktubeathon, and it just wasn't a pleasant reading experience. And it hurts me because I thought that it would end up being a favorite. Is My Heart and Other Black Codes by Jasmine Warger. We have reached my most hated books ever, these three. And I could not stand this. I think this book disappointed me so much because it had so much potential in the beginning. Like, we were halfway through the book, and I was like, this is going to be a new favorite of mine. I'm going to go tell it on a mountain. I'm going to scream it to everybody. Read this book. It was so beautiful. I think she handled the topics with so much respect in the first half, and it was when we got to the middle of the book and the dreaded love fixes all trope came into play, and immediately my love turned sour for this book. To teach people that someone who is considering suicide or has mental illness can be fixed by falling in love, or that falling in love will make you not want to commit suicide anymore, is grossly irresponsible. People all the time who are in love, who have families, who, the world thinks is happy, still kill themselves. So for her to have this, to do the love conquers all trope, really just turned my stomach sour. And that's when I wanted to put the book down. But I was able to finish it, and I was still disappointed at the end. It didn't redeem itself. But this is about a girl, because I should tell you what it's about. It's about a girl who has had a traumatic experience happen to her, and because of this, she has decided to commit suicide because basically the whole town is turned against her. Her mother is deflecting from the real issue. She won't address it. She feels alone, so she decides to commit suicide, and she goes online to this website where you can get suicide buddies. She meets a boy that lives close to her, and they make a pact to commit suicide together. During the process of getting ready for, committing suicide together, they start to build a relationship, and ultimately they fall in love. And it had the potential. It had a potential. It had so much potential, but it failed in the end. Two, let me get it for you. Unravel Me by Tahereh Mafi. I had a very complex relationship with Tahereh Mafi this year because two of her books made my top 10 favorites of the year. And this one is the bane of my existence. I hate it with a passion that nobody should hate a book, but I do. If I was into burning books, I'd probably burn this book. This is book 2 in the Shatter Me trilogy. I won't go into much detail if you haven't read Shatter Me. I feel like everybody's read Shatter Me, but Shatter Me follows a girl named Juliet whose touch is lethal, and because of this, she's been locked away in like an institution for I think the past 2 years, and then she's broken out by like the bad guys of the story. I don't even know what they're called now. The reestablishment. No, she's broken out by people who are fighting the reestablishment, and it's like this self-discovery adventure story. It is amazing. Shatter Me is amazing, but Unravel Me let me down so much. This book is only 430. It's like 450. Yeah. Like 450 pages, and it took me 2 months to read it, and it put me in a 2 month reading slump at the very beginning of the year, and I despise this book. It's the main reason why I have not yet read Ignite Me, and that I will not be reading Restore Me or any of the other books that come in this series. Hate it. First of all, it centers a lot around Warner. I despise him. I think he's one of the most disgusting book characters I've ever seen. It still amazes me that people can demonize Christian Grey, but they uplift like Warner when he has done some very despicable things in Shatter Me and Unravel Me. Like, spoiler alert, skip ahead a couple of seconds if you don't want to hear this, but like when he knows that Juliet fears killing someone with her touch, and he forces her to kill a child for his amusement, but people uplift him and villainize other people. I'll never understand the hypocrisy of book 2, but Unravel Me by Tahereh Mafi. And the next one, it doesn't seem like the very first one, it doesn't seem like I could hate anything more than Unravel Me, but I do, and that's 99 Days by Katie Cotugno. I have a rant review up on my channel. No spoilers. If you would like to hear, all of my thoughts. But basically, this book started out so well, and I thought it was going to be a favorite again because it was giving me very much Lifetime Movie Network. And while that might put off a lot of people, for about 5 to 10 years, I was addicted to Lifetime Movie Network. I would sit there and watch like at 9 o'clock in the morning, if it was like a Saturday, to like 10 or 11 at night, just watching Lifetime Movie Network movies. I loved them. But I did not like how it unfolded. I felt like almost all of the relationships were toxic. I felt like it was slut shaming in here. And I just, I was turned off by everything about this book. I just never want to see this book again. I was glad that it was a library copy and that I did not spend my money on it and that it went back home when I was done, because I wanted to fling the book across the room, but I didn't. So that is my top 8 most disappointing books of 2017. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please share the video. It helps me tremendously. If you would like to, you don't have to, but if you would like to, hit that subscribe button and the bell button beside it so you'll be notified when I upload new content. And I'm not going to do it because my lips are not matte. But as always, until we meet again, bye.